As most of you probably know, the Catholic Student Center at Washington University has a very special mission to young people. 12,000 university students are who we serve. We build this good company as their home away from home. In the summers, they are everywhere, and I mean everywhere. And just this past Friday, just 2 days ago, Friday afternoon, one of them sent me a text, and I share it with you now. My heart is breaking with all this violence, Gary. What I would give to be at a 9 p.m. Mass and listen to a homily and be surrounded by love at the CSC. I miss you guys. It's been a tough week for our country. The news is too full of violence these days. Many of us are angry at what is happening on the streets of our nation. Like this senior, soon-to-be senior, many of us are just plain sad. Our hearts are breaking because of this. And I'm hearing fear, too. Fear that things are so out of control. Lots of fear. And maybe even more troubling than those emotions is this discouragement that is in the air. And we don't know how to fix this, and it seems to be getting worse. If you listen to the call-in shows, you will hear answers that are just too simple, too easy. We jump quickly to blaming liberals, blaming conservatives, blaming guns, blaming Trump, blaming Clinton, blaming everybody and everything in one afternoon call-in show. And so the solution becomes as simple as banning this group of people or that, or those guns, or that whatever. The gospel story tells of a human being who was beaten and left to die on the side of the road. And it tells of a sworn enemy of his, someone he would have likely mistreated, talked down to, shamed for who they were and who they weren't. Another human being who stopped for him, who stopped everything he or she was doing to help him, who risked a lot, and not just inconvenience and cost, but also ridicule and shunning from his community. This was another human being, a fellow human being with their own issues and challenges and imperfections, who stopped, who did something that was outside the box for them, who let themselves think differently about this man on the other side of the road. And so this human being acted. The victim on the side of the road right now, I'd propose to you, is our country. That man who was beaten and left to die on the side of the road is our own nation. As the Bishop of Dallas wrote Friday, we have been swept up in the escalating circle of violence that has now touched us intimately as it has others throughout our country and the world. We have been beat to hell. Now it's violence upon violence upon violence. And right now, it is our nation who is that victim on the side of the road. That victim on the side of the road, making our way to wherever it is we were trying to go. And it's all very unsettling. We have no control We cannot make people see things our way. And it is clear that we cannot fix this overnight. But we have church and we have community. We have a community of people who care about this stuff. We are not alone. We have people we can talk about this stuff with. And we have a book full of wisdom for those who faced uncertainty before us. It's good to be here during times like this. I will never forget, and I've told this story, and many of you know it if you've been around for a while. On the afternoon of 9/11, when all of us were reeling, I walked out onto the porch, and there was a car out there and a woman inside the car. And I knocked on the window, and I said, "Is there anything I can do for you?" And she was crying. And she said, her response was, "I don't have a church. I haven't had a church for years. I need a place to go and a people to be with right now. And how I wish I had that." It's good to be here in a community of people who care about this stuff. And to remember we're not alone. And so much wisdom. An almost sophomore said to me just Friday night, "Our generation is really getting scared. It has been so easy," he said, "to just shut my brain down, especially in the summer. But not today. Not this summer. And maybe," he said, "maybe it's time for us to quit shutting down and start leading." It's wedding season at the CSC. Almost every other weekend there are weddings right now. Yesterday there were 3 connected to this community. One happened here and the other 2 in different places. As all those people gathered around all those couples, many would say that the violence of the past week would cast a pall over what they were doing there in those places. Or that it's good to have these weddings because they help us forget all that's happening out there in the streets. But I propose to you in the light of this gospel that what we did here yesterday and what those other couples did around the city yesterday was far from an escape, far from another way to numb ourselves and distract ourselves from all that. That actually those weddings were a movement to the other side of the road to care for our country. A movement towards healing and hope. The chance to love another human being. The chance to dare a marriage in this world or to dare a friendship in this world. It's not the solution, but it is a giant step towards a solution. It's the beginning of what can still happen and a glimpse of why we need not give up, but rather give it up for the common good. You see those couples, each one of them, and I watched it right here. Each of those couples was taking a stand for life. They got up right here and in all those other parishes around town. They got up right there, and they literally and figuratively took a stand for life and for love. And there they were standing in front of the world as if to say, this human being is worth my life. Worth my life. As we should be saying to every human being we meet on the road, even those unknown to us, this human being is worth my life. That generosity of life I saw in them. That generosity of life, it is because they're not making this about themselves, about their needs being met now because this other person's giving their life to them. Not at all. That's the point of a sacrament. What makes it a sacrament is that those two turned out to the world. They're doing this for our sake. These two, all those others, and all of you who at some point in your life stood in front of a community, in front of an altar, and made that choice. You made a choice to stand in front of the world in a world of senseless violence. And these two, and all of you who've dared friendship, have promised to demonstrate a nonviolent love that can save the world. Every marriage, every friendship dared is an act of defiance and an act of hope. It is the choice to cast our lot with non-violent love. And every choice we made, every choice to be a friend, is two by two us leading the world to the other side of the road. Was there a pall over those weddings yesterday because of the circumstances of the day? Not in the least. Only urgency. Urgency for them and for us, that we seize the day to love, that we love those who have been given us to love without violence in our words and without violence in our actions, but only respect. I promise to love you and honor you. You, this other human being I'm with right now. I promise to love you and honor you, respect you. To love the stranger, to love the victim, to love the enemy. To make our way to the other side of the road, one step at a time, and you watch. Others will follow you across that road. When you do your work to love a human being like that. To help our nation is about more than helping out a Dow Jones Industrial Average or a gross national product, as helpful as those things are. But to help our nation right now, it's going to be how we choose to get along with the person next to us, wherever we are. How we choose to get along. And if we do it here in this country, we can be a light to the nations. One step at a time across the road, really, you and I. And lead. Lead. For God's sake. Lead. As that soon-to-be sophomore said, it's time. I leave you with a prayer. It's one of the most helpful prayers for me in this regard at times like this, that they call the Romero prayer. He never wrote it, it seems, but it carries his name because it carries his life. May it carry yours and mine as well this morning. I hope this prayer helps us to continue doing what we can according to our gifts to lead against seemingly insurmountable odds. Please relax a little bit in your pew if you would and take a breath. It helps now and then to step back and take a long view. The kingdom is not only bound beyond our efforts, it is even beyond our vision. We accomplish in our lifetime only a tiny fraction of the magnificent enterprise that is God's work. Nothing we do is complete, which is a way of saying that the kingdom always lies beyond us. No statement says all that could be said. No prayer fully expresses our faith. No confession brings perfection. No pastoral visit brings wholeness. No program accomplishes the church's mission, and no set of goals and objective includes everything. This is what we are about. We plant the seeds that one day will grow. We water seeds already planted, knowing that they hold future promise. We lay foundations that will need further development. We provide yeast that produces far beyond our capabilities. We cannot do everything. And there's a sense of liberation in realizing that. This enables us to do something and to do it well. It may be incomplete, but it is a beginning, a step along the way to the other side of the road, an opportunity for the Lord's grace to enter and do the rest. We may never see the end results, but that's the difference between the master builder and the worker. We are workers, not master builders. Ministers, not messiahs. We are prophets of a future not our own. Amen.